But right now, I want to welcome to the program Joe Khalil with Post Kentucky, Protecting Our Students and Teachers program. Joe, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir, for having me on.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it. You are a county constable in Boone County, Kentucky. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So can you tell us, first of all, what exactly is Protecting Our Students and Teachers all about in Kentucky?
Well, we selected that name deliberately. It really describes exactly what we're looking to do. Post Protecting Our Students and Teachers is a program specifically designed to mitigate the active shooter threat in our schools. And basically, it started after Newtown when we saw 26 people die in that tragic event. And the sheriff and I stepped up to the plate and designed a program to protect our students and teachers.
Okay. Does this so what exactly does the program involve then, Joe?
Well, first of all, it's important to note that we're only looking for basically a 5 to 10% participation rate, and this program, I must say, in the front here is highly loosely based off the ARM pilot program. So basically, it's volunteers only. Nobody will be pressured to participate. We're looking at 5 to 10% participation, and they'd go through numerous levels of screening. They would actually go through a application process, an interview, a background check, potentially a drug test and a polygraph, depending on what county implements. They would have to get a concealed carry permit, and then they would have to complete a 5.5-day training program that is 47 hours in length. And they would also have to do semi-annual firearms qualifications. And before the school year starts every year, they would have to complete a 1-day refresher course.
Okay. What's been the reaction to this program from parents and faculty, administrators that you've talked to?
Well, actually, we've been working on this for about 14 months, and the people we talk to and actually get the opportunity to describe the program to, because some people have these visions of all teachers being armed and almost have these visualizations in their head of teachers being handed guns and say, good luck, go to school. Obviously, it's nothing like that. This is a very thorough and comprehensive, well-thought-out program and very economical. But our reaction to those that we're able to describe the program to is very positive. I would say it's around the 70 percentile support it. We have the 10% they're just vehemently against it, and believe it or not, that's mostly the school administration staff type people. And then you have your 20% of people that just cannot get over the emotional hurdle of having a firearm in school. And it's an emotional hurdle that I don't think we actually can get through to those 20%. It's just something no matter how much discussions you have with them, they just can't get beyond that.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking here at a piece in the Cleveland Plain Dealer by Tracy Goodlett from Kentucky Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense. I'm curious, by the way. They say that they believe this proposal is, quote, irresponsible, dangerous, and reckless. Anybody with Moms Demand Action actually reach out to you guys at a Post to talk about some of their concerns?
Absolutely not. And I'm glad you asked that question, because on the 19th of last month, we did a presentation for 2 hours where we presented to the public all the details on the program so they could actually find out about it. But then the following week, last week, our local school had a workshop, a safety workshop, where they took up the subject. And they actually had about 15 organizations like the one you just mentioned all show up with the same talking points. These people have not received a briefing on the program, and they all showed up to speak out against it. And so, and all these organizations have something to do with either anti-gun or
right.
the educational system. And so what we're trying to explain to them is that years ago, when we first started school resource officers, they were unarmed in this area. And after about 6 months, the sheriff said, no, if we're going to continue this, they need to be armed. And they fought it. But now we've had armed school resource officers for 10 years. 11 years ago, when we first started talking about arming airline pilots, people were like, you want to do what? And now here we are 11 years later, and it's a well-accepted program. I think some of these people are going to have to warm up to the idea that this is not specifically a firearm issue. This is a safety issue. And they have to understand that tool called a firearm is being used in the hands of a trained and screened individual to actually stop a threat and protect their children. I think they need to warm up to that idea.
I'd like to think that they will, Joe, but based on this piece by Tracy Goodlett, I'm not even sure they're in favor of law enforcement officers having firearms. I mean, they say, according to the Violence Policy Center, trained law enforcement officers hit their intended targets only 20% of the time. They say it's outrageous to believe that minimally trained school personnel will be capable of taking out suspects without putting children and others at risk. Concept purely reactionary is not acceptable to Kentucky moms. Now, again, based on those statistics that she just cited, you probably wouldn't want officers to respond to an active shooter situation either, because 80% of the time they're going to miss their targets, according to the gun control groups. So what would the gun control groups want then to protect our kids, Joe?
You know what they want. Those of us that are most of your listeners right now understand the difference between a sheepdog and a sheep. And the sad part here is that when the shooting starts, they don't want to see a gun. They don't want a gun around. But once the shooting starts, they want a sheepdog, i.e. a police officer or somebody armed responsibly, to be there a second ago. Because when those seconds count, the police are potentially minutes away. And that's what we're recognizing here. We recognize this. The teacher in the classroom is the real first responder. Because when that shooter enters that classroom and starts shooting, that is the first responder. And people need to visualize that if we take only 5 to 10% of them that want to participate and we screen them, train them, and give them the tool to be able to protect our students, this could be successful. Everybody needs to realize that in Newtown, 4 teachers were murdered standing in front of their children, and some of those children were murdered too. 20 children and 6 teachers on that day. So all we're trying to do is prevent a repeat of that. But those people you're referring to, I'm not so sure some of them we can ever reach.
All right, so where is the post program right now, Joe?
Well, we have the county I live in is fighting it tooth and nail, which is unfortunate because only 2 of the 5 school board members have actually received a briefing on it. So they're fighting something they don't even know all the details about. I think that's pretty close-minded for some educators to have that rationale. However, I'm briefing another school board tonight, and we have another school board that's interested. We've had people from around the country express interest in the program. So what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to get a couple school boards that are probably going to implement for the fall, and I think the other school boards are going to look at it and go, wait a minute, what are we missing here? And they're going to see that we have enacted a responsible program, and hopefully they will be a little bit more open-minded to consider it.
All right. Well, listen, Joe, I appreciate you coming on the program. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. And just want to make that last comment that, a no gun sign on your children's school front door does not protect them. We think that just by putting a sign on there saying your teachers and staff on this campus are trained and armed, we think that would mitigate the threat or the shooting from even occurring in the first place.
All right. Listen, look forward to having you back on again soon, Joe, and thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. God bless.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Joe Khalil joined us from POST, Protecting Our Students and Teachers program.